As we look at the way investors take a look at and evaluate investing opportunities, how does that analysis or that consideration balance people and traditional human capital and talent versus scalable infrastructure, GPU capacity, and the ability to scale AI investments? Who would like to take that first?
I guess if no one else is saying so, I'll start. I mean, that's a broad set of topics. I mean, I think the number one trend everybody's trying to work their way through is just this idea of software, AI actually eating into the labor budget. Like everyone frames it as SaaS was workflow, and now AI is eating to labor budgets. And I think another way to to talk about the title of this panel, kind of GPU. How does that translate into labor? So I think one thing that I've been trying to work through in my own mind is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when ChatGPT came out, we tried to just actually do an assessment of like in the different business verticals, whether it's sales or legal or medical, like actually count the different tasks being done and then try to think about the number of people completing that task and then the hourly wage rate. Because I think in this new world, we're all trying to think about new opportunities for software to eat work. And it's helpful to actually start by defining what is the work being done. So one of the things that we did is we counted the number of lawyers, wage rate, number of paralegals, wage rate. And we're trying to do that across a number of these sectors. So I think at a high level, we're all just trying to think about what's the marginal dollars that eating this labor can capture above and beyond workflow TAM.
And Jeremy, what are some of the insights that you found in terms of where the greater penetration of AI might be? And are there any bigger
Yeah.
patterns?
Nicely, it coincides very well with the prices venture capitalists are paying for the late stage startups in those respective spaces. So when you do that relative sizing, number one and number two, not shockingly, are code generation and customer support. And there's logic to why a bunch of the late stage VCs are paying those, very high prices for a $7 million ARR business, just because when you do the relative market sizing, there's a lot of dollars in those spaces. So I think the two that stood out just from a raw dollars horizontal standpoint were code generation and customer support. And then in the vertical space, obviously you think about, a couple of interesting data points. I mean, oh, you know, I think doctors, financial services professionals, and lawyers are the ones with the highest wage rates. And then when you think about what venture capitalists have funded, I mean, it's not surprising, Harvey, Case Text, all the legal AI companies, the medical AI companies. We did that analysis, and then you're like, shoot, maybe I should have done that 6 months earlier because it actually has coincided with what a lot of the VCs have funded.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, I
if
think
you, oh, go ahead,
go.
Thomas.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to kind of to kind of add on to what Jeremy was saying. I think if you look at kind of the types of things that were being replaced probably like a couple of years ago, kind of the first things to go were the ones that Jeremy mentioned because those are the biggest opportunities. And I'm a seed stage investor. A lot of you guys do seed some a little later. I think if you look at where a lot of the new money's going in right now, it's more vertical specific. I think there's a notion that that's what's more defensible, and hasn't been kind of gobbled up by like the first wave, even kind of your Harveys and whatnot. And at least for us, yeah, we're kind of you see a lot of kind of very niche verticals that you couldn't build software in before because there was so unstructured, that maybe even didn't make sense to build software in because they were relatively small. But then when you add the labor to the software opportunity, they get kind of venture backable. And then you have the really big ones, and probably where we've been spending most of the time are kind of healthcare, financial services, where you just have like a lot. If you look at kind of labor markets overall, like healthcare is the largest sector, and a lot of it is back office kind of manual processes that can be automated. So I think you're seeing like a ton of companies built there and some big ones will emerge.
Yeah, I think what's interesting as well is that old industries that were maybe not typically buying software, also kind of leapfrogging and then starting to adopt AI tooling, and that's pretty new. So if you think about even like sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, supply chain, etc., there were like where traditional software penetration was relatively low. Those industries are adopting AI faster than before. So I think the TAM that we see is much larger than it looks. And actually, if you look beyond, the obvious industries, there's actually a much bigger opportunity out there. So I think that's what especially interesting about AI. I think it's the adoption across all those sectors, and it feels like easy to adopt to a lot of industries.
I think the big opportunities, I would agree with Hadley. I think on the earliest stage, we're seeing a ton of very verticals with like very specific workflows for those verticals as kind of big opportunities. And then I think the sort of native AI UX designed products that I think are sort of the AI native version of something, I think is like a super exciting opportunity in the application layer, where you kind of rethink, like a lot of times it was a human going and like pushing the buttons, but if it's a machine, then what does the new UX actually need to look like? And then where does the human orchestrate that from, at what level of depth within the application, I think is pretty interesting.